well, essentially a few years ago, like Tetris players from across the world figured out that you can essentially like break the game, because it's really old, and so essentially if you keep playing and playing, it'll glitch and eventually break.
That was Soph Schultz Rocha from SFFILM's education program. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast about artists, activists, and working people who make this city so special. Welcome to this bonus episode all about the 2025 Schools at Doc Stories program. Longtime listeners will remember episodes in the past few years about SFFILM's Doc Stories Film Festival. This year, we're speaking with Soph and their colleague, Keith Zwolfer, about the work that SFFILM, and especially their Doc Stories Festival, does with school-age kids in San Francisco, the Greater Bay Area, and indeed around the country. Here's my chat with Soph Schultz Rocha and Keith Zwolfer of SFFILM. Here we are, it's 2025. Back then, a couple years ago, it was as much about the programming as it was, we were still early stages of pandemic, early enough to be like, and let's also just get out and be in theaters and be in community. While that's still very important, I am one of those people who don't take that for granted. I feel like we've now, and also because of events in the world, we've moved on to like other maybe areas of importance. So can either of you or both of you speak to sort of overall themes or things that are going into the programming of this year's festival?
Yeah, like you touched on with COVID, the program for Schools at Doc Stories started in 2021. This is the 11th year of Doc Stories, right. And for those years building up until 2021, it wasn't as formal a program as it is now, as built out. We did some smaller school visits with filmmakers who were in town, but modeled after our Schools at the Festival program, which is in the spring, which is a much longer, that's how this program began,
right.
Back in 1991. We just saw the need for it. And so it came out of that desire, I think, for teachers. The festival is such a popular program for us in the spring, but to like focus on docs. We have docs at the festival in the spring, but just to really focus in on nonfiction filmmaking for our audience, our young audience. Mm-hmm. And for themes, you know, we're trying to find things that will connect with kids and curriculum. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily like one big theme.
Right.
Jesse sometimes will have a through line throughout the films in any one year, and sometimes that naturally happens for us, but what we're mostly looking for are films that will connect with kids. You know, documentaries are a little harder sell than and maybe an animated film, which might happen throughout our other programming, narrative films, short films. They're not as familiar with documentaries, so we want to give them an experience that will get them excited about documentaries, because we know how much we love them, and we know how great they are. So we just want to expose them to everything that is great about documentary filmmaking.
Yeah.
And themes might be coming of age. It might be topics that are happening in the world, you know, connecting to stories, giving them perspectives on things they might not have heard about. And then also just connecting to all the different curriculums that are found in the school system. So it's everything from math and science to foreign language to history, humanities, and filmmaking, of course, as well.
Oh, awesome. Yes, and I'm realizing as we're talking about this that we need to, for the listeners of this podcast, explain what y'all do here at SFFILM.
Yeah. So we do so much at SFFILM. Our education department, you know, we're talking about Schools of Doc Stories right now, as Keith was talking about how, you know, we use documentary filmmaking and these screenings to expose students to the world of documentary film, but also have them connect with their curriculum. But throughout the year, you know, we have our Schools of the Festival program, which is our biggest program. We also have our Youth Filmmakers Camp over summer, and then we have our Youth Filmhouse residency program, which the camp and residency, you know, is focused on young Bay Area students who want to be filmmakers and are filmmakers, which is really exciting. And then throughout the year, we also have family programming, which is an accessible and fun way and meaningful way for families in the Bay Area to come and experience a film in the theaters. And those are just some of the things that, we do.
Right.
We connect with K through 12 students, but also, families and educators are our audience as well.
Okay. I think when I've had Jessie on in past years, she's mentioned some of the school and education programs, but I've never had the pleasure of speaking with the folks who actually run those programs. So maybe just a little bit more about specifically schools in San Francisco. You said K through 12. Are they public schools, private school? What kind of program, what kind of relationships and programs do you have?
Everything you could think of. It actually was started by a retired public school teacher back in '91. He was a longtime volunteer. Bob Don was his name. He was a history teacher. And he said, have you ever thought about doing school programs? And they let him do it. I think he volunteered for a while, and then it grew from there. So there's always been a real deep connection to public schools. Of course, it's the most important audience as well, just because of lack of funding in the arts, to provide resources in arts and education for teachers so they can have access to these arts education resources that we're providing. We also have private schools that we work with, and then homeschools. Homeschools are a very big part of the Bay Area.
Okay.
And when I first came here, it wasn't really on the radar of the education program, but I had been reading about homeschools. I'd just been interested in it, and I found out quickly that it's a very big community here in the Bay Area.
Interesting. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so we have a large homeschool audience as well. So it's public-private homeschool, as Soph said, kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. It is Bay Area, so it's San Francisco is probably our biggest contingency, but we have schools that are coming from the East Bay, down as far as San Jose that come up, and as far up as Sacramento too.
Awesome.
So we encourage them all to come in. It's hard to travel in, but our programs are all free and accessible that way.
Awesome.
So it's just a matter of them finding the means for transportation, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then our online programs actually reach outside of the Bay Area. So nice. I'm not sure where we're at right now. I know we have a few states signed up, but in past festivals we've had 12 or 13 states represented outside of just Bay Area and California as well, reaching down to LA and upper Northern California
state
too.
education systems or school districts?
It's usually, we don't have the bandwidth to connect to the school system like we do here in San Francisco with Unified or Oakland Unified. But word of mouth really goes a long way. We have, teachers go from school to school. So we've had some teachers who started here in the Bay Area, but now teach on the East Coast, and they wanted to stay connected to us.
Love that.
And that was the big positive thing that came out of COVID, was that for a while, we were only online. The whole organization was doing everything online. And while the organization pulled back from it because they didn't need it quite as much, we found it as a great way for accessibility.
Right.
There might be schools in Oakland who can't come across the bridge or take the BART in, and this still gives them that connection, but it also allows us to reach states across the country, especially places where arts funding is even harder hit than here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that's a problem I feel like maybe a lot of people in the Bay Area think is over there. It touches here. It's just not what it used to be. And so I just want to thank SFFILM and you all for stepping in, and anyone really who steps in where maybe our government has pulled back for whatever reason.
There's a lot of great organizations in the city that are handling that lack of funding, and it's a big weight to carry, but it's a joy to be able to provide that. I remember when I was growing up, I was in the suburbs of Chicago, so I think we had decent access back then, but it's so much more apparent. And then even when my own two kids were growing up through the San Francisco school system, I saw the lack of it as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's turn to maybe the programming and things that y'all are excited about. I took a quick look, but I want to hear from you all, because you're putting it all together, and so. Yeah, let's hear some things that you're excited about this year.
Well, I'll first say that our program is sort of a mixture, and this happens in schools at the festival as well. Our first step is we take the amazing films that are in the regular program that Jessie and her team have put together and pull from that. So not every one of those films is going to be a perfect fit for school-age kids. So we curate from there. And they always have amazing films to pick from. I wish we could do every one of them. But so we have a couple that are within that. And then the other films that make up the rest of our program are what we call schools at Doc Stories only films. And these are films that only the school groups get to see. So the regular public will not get to experience these films like the kids are getting to experience.
Okay.
But Soph, do you want to jump in and say one or two of your favorites?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, we have 12 programs as part of Schools at Doc Stories. We have 10 feature films and 2 Schultz blocks. But some of my own like favorites and ones I'm really excited for, I would call out the film Remaining Native, which Keith mentioned that one part of our programming that we focus on is coming of age stories, and using coming of age stories to talk about like a larger, maybe more difficult part of like the human experience. So Remaining Native follows a young 17-year-old runner, Koo Stevens, Indigenous teen, and as he's, trying to get recruited into college for running, he's also uncovering the past of his own family, but also of his community, of his grandfather, great-grandfather actually, was in a boarding school. And so there's like a lot of opportunity for healing and like the community coming together to honor the past. So it's a really heavy topic, but through a coming of age lens makes it more accessible. I'm really excited to have the director, Paige Bethman, join us for screening.
And it fits nicely in its Indigenous Peoples Month in November,
yes.
which also pairs nicely with one of the films in our regular program, Powwow People, by Ska Hopinka, who we featured at the last festival as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Another fun one, I would say, for Schools at Doc Stories only, it's called Blue Scooty Tetris Crasher. I don't know if you've
Do you play
played
Tetris?
Tetris.
Oh, yes. Actually, I thought maybe that was a new version of Tetris.
No, so...
Blue Scooty
K-pop Demon Hunter,
is a handle of a very
Yeah.
well-known Tetris
No, I
player.
love Tetris, and I reference it all the time because it's kind of like there's life things.
It's a
that come up
metaphor
that
for
fit
life.
Okay,
Tetris.
That comes up in the film.
But let's hear about that.
Yeah, then you'd love this film. So, so if you've played the game, kind of know that levels keep going and going and going. Well, essentially a few years ago, like Tetris players from across the world figured out that you can essentially like break the game, because it's really old, and so essentially if you keep playing and playing, it'll glitch and eventually break. And so the first person to ever do that...
Listeners can't hear this, but my mind is being blown right now.
The first person to ever do that is a 13-year-old.
Of course.
In the U.S. His name's Willis, and to fellow gamers, his name is Blue Scooty. And
Scooty.
So he live streamed this, and so he was the first person ever to do it. His life changed overnight, and so the film, follows like what happened once he broke the game, and also follows him on these different competitions. You get to really learn a lot more about the Tetris gaming community, which I did not know much about, and I've watched a lot of competition films, and the gamers, it's a real sense of community. Like they really cheer each other on.
Interstate, international,
all over the world. So
does breaking Tetris? Does breaking Tetris just means it stops?
Yeah,
you're basically like breaking its mind.
Like
it doesn't know what
it.
to do.
Yeah,
so it glitches so much that it just stops.
I love this.
Yeah.
It's the battle against the robots.
Yes, and Willis or Blue Scooty is 13 or was 13 when this happened.
Yeah.
So
now he's still a young teenager, and he's going to be joining us as well for the screening, along with his mom, who's in the film. And then we're really lucky in the Bay Area to also have a local Tetris celebrity, another teenager, 16-year-old Alex T is going to be joining us. He is the 2-time World Tetris champion.
What?
Of 2025 and 2024.
Oh my God.
He's also in the film, so we're really excited to just be able to showcase another coming-of-age story, but just really incredible focus on like community building. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any that you want to throw in that Soph didn't mention?
I will first talk about one that is in the regular program because it's such
not an only.
Not an only, and then I'll do an only one after that.
Okay.
But Eyes of Ghana is one of my favorites, and it's by director Ben Proudfoot. Ben has been participating in SF film programming for quite a while. He's known for his short films. He's actually a 2-time Academy Award winner for Queen of Basketball, which we screened at Doc Stories, and then The Last Repair Shop, which won last year, which we also screened as well. But this is his first feature film.
Okay.
He has a certain way of telling his stories that are very, I think Breakwater, which is his production company, I think they're in their 11th or 12th year, but he has a very distinctive style. And one of the main things he does is tell amazing stories of people who are sort of behind the scenes of amazing things. You know, so Last Repair Shop is about the LA Unified School District music program, and they have a repair shop that takes care of all of the free instruments in Los Angeles.
I love it.
And the effects that it has on the kids of LA. But, you know, these amazing people who are fixing pianos, fixing violins, and have created some famous, well-known musicians, including Chris Bowers, who's a co-director of the film, came up through that system too.
Amazing.
So in this film, he's focusing on the Ghanaian president from the 50s or
The 50s and 60s.
like the 50s. So right after colonization sort of has subsided, and it follows a gentleman who was his documentarian.
Oh wow!
Who's sort of behind the scenes, and it also follows 2 other people in the story too. But it's one of those films that, like I was saying before, documentaries are kind of a hard entry point for kids,
for younger people,
and it's a pretty challenging subject in this film. But the way he tells the story, it's very grand. He uses Chris does the score for this film.
Excellent.
The way, you know, the cinematography for a documentary, it's just so lush. It feels like a narrative. And when Soph and I watched it, we were like, oh, you know, kids are gonna, even if they're not connected to the story at all, like have no understanding of this part of history, they're gonna get pulled in by the sort of humanistic storytelling that he is able to do so well, and just sort of the grand storytelling that he does too. So we're super excited about that, and Ben will be here again.
Excellent.
This is, I think, the 3rd time we've had him in our school programs, and Chris has participated in our school programs as well. So
awesome.
We always love to work with him. And then a schools only one that I will talk about. It actually has a public program component too, because we're first featuring this program in our school screening area, but we also do workshops periodically where we're doing things for teens who are interested in filmmaking. So I'll let Soph talk about that after I talk about the program itself. But this is featured on a filmmaker named James Robinson. And it's kind of fun. I mean, one of the best things about our jobs is when we get to discover things. And I really love children's literature, both graphic novels. And I mean, it's something I'm just sort of wrapped up in my daily work. So I like to read and see what kids are interested in, because sometimes it connects to films. And I read this book called Whale Eyes, which was a debut book by James in the early part of the year. And it's an autobiographical story about his own eye condition. And it's a beautiful, it's like a middle reader, so it's probably like 4th and 5th grade and up. But basically talking about his growing up with this condition, now as an accomplished filmmaker. He worked for the New York Times OpDocs program.
Okay.
He's an Emmy winner.
He's done okay.
He's done very well.
Despite and possibly because of.
Yes. But so what he focuses on, he has some other shorts that he's done himself. He works as an editor at New York Times OpDocs, but he also did this series that focuses on disability.
Okay.
And the way he focuses on it is sort of to turn it on the observer, of someone interpreting what a disability is and how you sort of create those issues and problems around it. It's not really the person with the disability.
Right.
It's how you perceive a disability and how you put your own problems onto it. So it's really about interpreting what someone is going through with their disability, just so you have a knowledge of it and an empathy for it, but also that it's not really a big deal.
Right.
So they focus on a gentleman with a stutter, someone with face blindness. Then there's whale eyes, there's his own, and then the other one is also about an eye stigmatism as well. And each one is about like 7 or 8 minutes long. They use really fun, playful visuals. He's also very good at sort of creating little playful exercises, I guess. The one he does for the stuttering, he creates this fake machine that basically takes out the stutters. So he has the gentleman that he's focused on, and it looks like an old-fashioned typewriter, and it's just, like a fun little device that he created. And he plays a conversation with him with all of the stutters taken out. And it just shows that the way you perceive a stutter, you're saying, oh, this person is inarticulate, doesn't have anything to say. And then when you pull it together, you see how articulate and intelligent this man is. And then they slowly put the stutters back in. And he explains each one, because there's lots of different versions that people who have a stuttering condition might have. So then he uses that to explain what those are and puts them all together. So you start by hearing him talk without the stutters. You gain that understanding from, and then they put the stutters back in, and he's still the same person.
Right.
So it really
beautiful.
creates a wonderful space for understanding and empathy. And so we're showing all those shorts, and then 2 of his earlier shorts that don't have to do with that at all. And James will be joining us. We're very excited that.
Excellent.
And then we created a workshop for teenagers around the shorts as well that Soph can tell you a little bit about.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. So we're doing a teen workshop focused on documentary filmmaking and creating understanding based off of, all of James Robinson's work. And he's going to be leading teenagers through showcasing his work and also having the students, reflect on something maybe that they feel misunderstood. Maybe a part of them feels misunderstood, or a part of their community feels misunderstood, and how to take that and turn it into a story to create larger empathy and understanding.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited, and that'll be on Saturday the 8th here at Filmhouse.
Right here at Filmhouse.
Oh, excellent.
Which is really exciting. Yeah, so any high schooler, teenager, 13 to 18 years old can come and participate. They don't have to be a filmmaker. I think a really great part of James's experience too is, since he's also an author, students who are interested in writing can also join.
Right.
Or just interested in storytelling in general.
Yeah, it's also just about telling your story.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get filmmakers who come out of these programs, but that's not the only end goal.
Right.
It could just be about being comfortable telling your story, right? In whatever, it could be in a podcast, it could be just talking to your friends, it could be in the school setting. So it really is giving those skills in whatever way it manifests.
Yeah. I don't have kids of my own. I have a couple nephews. That's the closest I've been to that. But I'm a big fan of providing young people with the things to let them figure out what their thing is. And not just the thing that they're good at, but the thing that gives them joy. And it sounds like this is one of those things where it's there's all these opportunities and story. I mean, everyone has a story, and stories.
That's a big thing that comes out of it. You often hear it from the stage, like a filmmaker saying that everyone has a story, and they'll often direct that to the kids because they want them to know that it doesn't have to be a Marvel film. It doesn't have to be that story.
Right.
And even within a Marvel film, there are stories of connection that you could have with someone. There's decent representation in most Marvel films, especially in the last 10 years. But it's more of something that you're doing right now is worthy of a story. You might not think it is because it's within your family or within your small community, but you have you should feel empowered to tell that story in whatever way you want to do it.
I love it. And on the empathy and understanding side of it, to my mind, it's contra bullying. It's like getting beyond the like being terrible to each other.
Yeah.
Which
and a lot of times the films we like, I don't know if you want to talk about Niñex, but it's another film that we have in the Schools Only program that we're really excited about because it is such a positive representation of something that, a lot of other films get into, and it gets kind of heavy and overwhelming. And this is just such a lovely representation of a young girl growing up. So I don't know if you want to talk about Niñex. We're really excited about it.
I'll quickly
if you're excited about it, let's hear about it.
So this is actually in our online program, which is exciting because of the reach that it could have. But yeah, it's called Niñexes. It's a film from Mexico. It was actually at Frameline. That's how we heard about it. But it follows over like 8 years. The director Cani Laporta, who's a trans man, connects with like a young trans girl and her family, and so we see her kind of growing up as a teenager. It's a very like playful and collaborative film between Carla, the teen, and Cani, the director, and it just, it shows just throughout all of her life, everyone's so supportive of her. I think there's a lot of, very real but really like sad and upsetting trans stories right now, especially about young people in the U.S., but also, of course, across the world. So this is just a really fun, positive representation of trans coming of age. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, we've got a lot of good stuff here. We should probably wrap soon, but anything else either of you or both of you want to add before we do?
I know this is coming out next week. It's never too late to sign up for something. Oftentimes school groups need a little bit more time to, plan a field trip. But the online programs, they start next Monday, but they go for a full week. So you could easily hear this and still sign up.
Can you throw out the dates so folks know?
Yes. So our in-person sort of programming is November 6th through 10th. And we have the 6th and 7th. And then on the weekend is James's workshop. And then we have Monday is our last day of in-person programming. And then our online program starts next Monday and goes through the 10th. So if a teacher signs up for an online program, they basically have a full week. They get a link for a film, and they can watch it as many times as they want with different classes, or spread it out over, multiple classes with one classroom. And then we have recorded Q&As for every one of our online programs. So that's a way for them to engage with that. We also have study guides, which we didn't mention before, and that is a way for teachers to prepare their kids for what they're about to watch, but also to continue the conversation after they're done with the experience. So hopefully connecting it to their classroom curriculum, but also if the kids really find that connection to something, maybe they can start exploring it a little bit more. So we have quite a few study guides for a lot of the films.
Excellent.
Anything else you want to add?
I guess just that, if this seems exciting for anyone listening, that, like I mentioned, we have a lot of year-round opportunities, and we have a lot of screenings and opportunities during the festival in the spring and in April for our Schools of the Festival program. But yeah, we're really excited for this year's Schools of Doc Stories. We have over 4,000 students and teachers signed up right now, and we still have opportunity for more.
Yeah, we have about 67 individual schools will be participating. And for like the last 5 years, that's been around average. So for the last 5 years total, we've probably reached around 25,000 students and teachers just with this one program.
Amazing. You want to tell folks how they can learn more and find programming and things like that?
Well, you can go to our website, sffilm.org. You can find out about the full program, the full Doc Stories program there, and everything that Jessie and her team has planned. You can also find out everything about our education program, as well as our artist development. We haven't talked about them, and we're in their space right now in Filmhouse. They have Doc Congress during Doc Stories, which is an amazing program connecting the community here, Bay Area community, with a lot of the filmmakers who are coming into town, talking about documentary work. So if you go onto the website, you can find out about any one of those paths, either our general programming, our artist development, or our education program. On there, you'll be able to sign up. If you're a teacher, you can sign up to receive emails for any one of those year-round programs that we have. And if you're just a parent, you can sign up as well for our family programs, and we have lots of those throughout the year as well.
That was Keith Zwolfer and Soph Schultz Rocha of SFFILM. We recorded this episode at SFFILM's Filmhouse in the south of Market. On the next regular episode of Storied SF, meet and get to know Shoykat Chakrabarti, who's running next year for Nancy Pelosi's seat in Congress. Episode 6 drops next Tuesday, wherever you get podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Our contributing producer is Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 8th season, we have more than 280 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If possible, please rate and review the show. I want to know what you think. Find us on Substack for our monthly newsletter and more. And follow us on Instagram and Threads at StoriedSF. Reach us there or email us at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Try to stay hopeful in these dark times. Keep being wacky, creative, and kind out there. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.